Hey guys, what's going on? This is Dharve here, and in this video we are going to create a steps animation using frame of motion and React. So let me show you what we are exactly going to recreate in this tutorial. So this is a tweet I saw on Twitter the other day, and it's by Zero and it says steps. So this is basically how it works. You press continue and this green bar moves forward, and at the end you have this finish button, and you also have the back button once you click continue for the first time. So this is what we are going to build using frame of motion in React. I actually have already made this for reference. So if we go here into localhost 3000, I have already made this. So if I click on continue, this keeps on increasing, and at the end it says finish. So yeah, it's not that perfect. There might be little details I might be missing, but you get the point. It would give you the basics of frame of motion and how you could use animation triggers, etc. So yeah, let's get started with this video. Before we move ahead, I have a favor to ask. If you find this video valuable, make sure you hit the subscribe button and show me some support so that I could bring you more such content. Back to the video. Okay, first of all, we need to create some kind of React tab. It could be nextjs or Vite. In this tutorial, I'm just going to use nextjs, but if you want to use Vite, it's totally up to you. It will just work almost the same way. So I'm going to do bunx create next app, and I'm gonna say steps animation. I would like to use TypeScript, ESLint yes, Tailwind yes, src no, basically everything which is default, and I'm just gonna leave it to that. And after it's done, I'm going to go into steps animation, and here I'm going to firstly install frame of motion. So bun install frame of motion, because it's not by default installed in nextjs, so we need to install it. Perfect. And now we can simply do code dot and bun dev turbo. I'm pretty comfortable using turbo flag nowadays. What about you? What do you think? Especially when I'm recording, it's pretty useful because recording already takes up a lot of memory, so a little turbo always helps. Perfect. Now we are here in a boilerplate Next.js application. We also have a page.tsx file here. So first of all, I want to get rid of like almost everything. We do not need anything here. Oopsie. Yeah. /main. And yeah, we need to simplify this because everything in that one was in the center. So I just want to do flex item center, justify center, and height of screen, so that everything just comes to the center. If you have like anything else styling you want to give, like any other positioning you want to give to the component, you can feel free to do that, but it's just enough for now. And now we need to create the actual component which we will have here. So here I'm just going to create a new folder, call it components, and I'm going to have a new folder called as steps.tsx. First of all, I'm just going to go ahead to localhost 3000 and see if our Next.js app is even running or not. It's a little slow. Okay, it is working. Perfect. Now we are just going to go here, and first of all, I'm just going to initialize a React component. I'm gonna rename this. I'm gonna rename the steps, and now what we can do is we can start defining the props. So I want to make this component reusable. So what can I do here? I can have the steps as React components passed through the props, an array of React components, so that I can have like step 1, step 2, step 3. I think that's the best way in my books, but if you have some other way, feel free to implement that. I think this is the best way in terms of some tutorial. Of course, there might be better ways of doing things, but yeah. So type props is equal to, I'm gonna give children first of all. Children is not necessary, so yeah. I need React node. I'm going to import that, and then I also need the steps, which is going to be an array of React nodes. Perfect. And now we can simply have these steps here. I'm gonna say children steps. Perfect. Thank you so much, GitHub Copilot. And now we can have a few things here. So first of all, every time this component is initialized, there should be a current step, and the current step should be 0, because remember arrays start with 0, right? So const current step, set current step. Perfect. And we need to import useState, and I'm just going to give it number, although it's not really necessary, but yeah. Perfect. Okay, so first of all, let's go ahead and make our steps here. So I'm just going to add the steps component here, and we can have children as well. So here I'm just gonna have a children of h1, class name of not quite this, but like I'm just gonna give it like text Excel and font bold. I think text to Excel should be great, and I can just say register. Yeah, and now this cries because we of course need to pass the steps. You can simply pass in components, but since we do not have components, I can simply pass in like literal tags here. So I can simply say div this is step 1, and now I can just go ahead, copy this, and I can have this like 4 times. You can have it however times you want it to. And now I'm just gonna edit these. Perfect. Now there is something wrong here, unfortunately, which I'm not sure about. This should work. Not really sure what's wrong here. Oh yeah, I think sometimes it does that. If I just do restart TypeScript server, yeah, it's gone. It's funny like how many issues just go away when you restart the TypeScript server. Okay, so let's start with the layout for our thing. So if we go here, it says failed to compile. Okay, yeah, this should be a client component. I'm sorry. So this should be use client. If we go back, it just says steps because we literally don't have anything here. So we are just going to remove this, and we are going to start creating the layout. In the demo, we had a white box in the middle, so we are going to create that white box. So class name bg white, first of all, padding of 11, rounded to XL so that it has some kind of border radius. Text should be black. Not sure about the nextjs dark mode settings, it defaults to white or something like that. Then text LG, and max width MD, so that if somebody decides to have a long text there, the entire box does not expand beyond a certain point. That's the mentality. And then we are going to have W full so that it uses the max width by default. Perfect. And now we can simply have the children here. So just have them here, and then we can start with the actual steps. So first of all, the first step, you need to display the current step, right? You cannot just display all the steps in the same step, right? So how are you going to do this? GitHub Copilot has already done that. So steps, current step. So you might be asking, why is this not inside a component? Because if you remember, if we have passed like components directly here, so you can simply call them like this and it will just work. So if I just save this and go here, it says register, this is step 1. So yeah, it has picked up the step 1 because this is current step is 0, and the 0th place in the array is this is step 1. Perfect, it works. And now we need to go ahead and do the rest of the stuff. First of all, I'm gonna go ahead and create the buttons to do stuff. So I'm gonna have div class name flex gap 2 mt7, I guess, overflow hidden because of the animations which we are going to do, and a text base so that the buttons are not super large. And here we can have, first of all, we are going to check if the current step is greater than 0, because if you remember, the back button was not available on the first step, and of course it should not be. So we are going to do current step should be greater than 0, And if that's the case, we need to actually render the back button. So we are just going to have a button here, button, and yeah, GitHub Copilot, thank you so much. I'm just gonna have the class name copied. I don't want to type it all right now, but yeah, I'm just gonna copy the class name. And there's one more thing we need here, which is an on click. So yeah, GitHub Copilot is doing that for us. Thank you so much. So what is this? This is a button with padding of across the x-axis, which is 5, padding across y-axis 3, text black, transition colors, that's for hovering. And I will show you why I did colors specifically. It's because frame of motion use transitions as well, so it interferes a lot with that. So that's why I just specified that I just want transition colors with this. And then yeah, it's pretty much clear. And in on click, we are just setting the step to one before, so doing actual back processing, right? So if like the current state step is 2, if you click the back button, it will become step 1 and it will change the content. So yeah, if we go back, we actually won't see anything because obviously there aren't any like this is the step 1, right? So it won't be displayed on the screen. But now we are going to create the continue button. So button continue. And now I'm also going to have a class name for this, which I'm going to copy, of course. The class name is flex, item center, justify center, gap 2, px5, and yeah, just a bunch of colors and transitions. And finally we also have flex grow, because I want to use all of the remaining space of along the x-axis, and I'll show you how. So if we go here, this is continue button, and this is using the full space because it's using flex grow, right? So yeah, and the reason we have used flex here, item center, justify center, is it's because we are going to use an icon in the future. I can simply go ahead and remove that for you now, so that it's more explainable later. I can just remove the flex as well. Yeah, it's the same, and we will touch that part later. So yeah, and now we also need to have an on click here, and in on click we need to actually change the state. So set current step prev +1. Perfect. Now if you go back, I think it should be pretty much working. Yeah, you can see this is step 1. If you click on continue, it goes to step 2, then it goes to step 3. However, this is not animated. You can only see the basic animation, which is like the hovering, which is basically, it should not be a tutorial on itself, to be completely honest. And yeah, basically this just keeps on going. We also need to fix that. So to fix that, we can simply go ahead and make a disabled button for the continue one. So yeah, let's go and create a disabled one, and we can just say, yeah, current step. If it's the last step, you are not allowed to click continue. So if you go ahead, step 2, step 3, step 4, and now it doesn't work, right? We can do the same with the back button, but it basically just disappears. So we really do not need to do that. Disabled, current step is 0, then it simply won't show. I mean, it would be disabled, but basically it's not even showing up, right? So it's not a big deal. Now there might be an issue that people might actually go around the disabled button and go forward, but I don't think there is any incentive they would get doing that. But you might also want to have some checks in place, so just in case any errors you want to display if this is a final test. In this video we are just going to cover the animations and stuff. We are not going to go deep into the validation kind of things. If you want more videos on validations, I already have videos on Zod and stuff, so you can go ahead and check those out. Not really related to this one, but it might also help you integrate into this and add more error handling in general. So yeah, so this is done. So if you remember, there were like 3 dots and a green bar which was following those dots. So to do that, we are gonna do it above the button grid. So I'm just gonna go ahead and create that. So first of all, we need to create the container. So div class name should be flex, justify center, so that it's in between, gap 5, empty 5. And now we also need to have hold on. So inside this we can simply go ahead and have div, and here we can have a class name of relative. And this is a tricky part, that's why I'm like kind of finding words to articulate. We are doing this because the green bar is actually not going to be a part of like it's going to be have an absolute positioning, and it's not going to be a part of like the actual tree of components. It's going to be fixated on those dots, and it will be overlaid underneath those, if that makes any sense. I'll show you how. So first of all, we define this class name as relative, so that anything absolute under this will be restricted under the bounds of this div. So yeah, so after relative we need to give a flex, because we are going to have dots and py1, and then we are going to have another div here, which is basically going to be the bar. So you know what, we don't actually need an ending tag here. We can simply do this, and we can have a class name of absolute rounded full, top 0. Because we have absolute, we need to provide top 0, left 0, h full, and bg green 500. And yeah, and now after this, and this is an absolute, anything you have later than this will not consider this as a element above this. So like this will be basically just an overlay and not the actual part of the tree of components, if you know what I mean. So now we can have steps. Thank you so much. But you know what, I'm just gonna copy mine. I'm just gonna go ahead and copy this one, because I think this is going to be pretty basic code. So we are mapping through the steps, and for every step we are going to have a circle of height of 2, width of 2, rounded full, mx1, so that there's some distance, and z10, because we actually want the dots to appear above the green bar. And we are also checking like if the current step is, if we are at the current step, or if like the current step has already gone. If the step is already completed, we will have the step as white, and every other step will be basically gray in color. So if we go back, I'm pretty positive this should run. So if we click on continue, yeah, the green bar does not show up for doesn't even show up. And we will fix that in the animation. So I think if we just give w full here, it should be working. Yeah, it does work. It's not animated, it's static for now. So if we click on continue, you can see that these just go white. And during the animation, we are going to make it so that the green bar only remains on the current step and not anything above or below. So yeah, we are going to remove the w full, of course, because of obvious reasons. This is now working. Now we can go ahead with the animation part. So first of all, I want to animate the buttons, because those are the most easier ones. So in frame of motion, there's something called as variants. What variants let you do is you can set an initial animation, and then you can set some other kind of animation which will be triggered after you tell it basically to animate, and it will take the properties like the CSS styling, and it will animate to that from the initial state. And I'll explain it to you how it works. Now if you look at the animation itself, how the back button appears is very interesting. It comes from the left side of the screen to its current position, and how it does is I can imagine it's just like changing the x-axis using an animation. So how can we do it? So let's go back to our code, and we can define a new variant we can go ahead and we can simply say const priv button variants, and we can give it a type of variant from frame of motion, and now we can just say initial should be, we want it to come from left to the actual position, right? So we need to be off screen at the start. So we can give it x, it can be like -100% so that it's off screen, and opacity should be 0 so that it's not that bigger animation. I do not see what's wrong here. Does not appear on variant. Okay, I think variants, I think it should be variants. Yeah, perfect. And then we can just go ahead and have the animate one. Yeah, so what happens, it's come to its original position, which is going to be 0. It's basically relative, so it comes to its original position, the intended position, and the opacity should be 1 so that it's fully visible. And now what should we do about these variants? We need to first of all assign this variant to the previous button. So let's go to the previous button. Here is the back button. Now we can just go ahead and say variants. Oh, okay, so this won't work, and I'm a fool. Why this won't work? Because we actually need to import the framer motion, the motion components. So we need to import that, and now we can just go ahead and have this as motion.button, and now we can have all the framer motion stuff here. So we can have variants is equal to previous button variants, and even after the variants we need to actually provide the initial one, so initial variant, and we need to pass in the name of the variant here, which is initial, which we define here. And next, it won't magically or animate, right? You need to tell it when it should be animating, right? So we need to actually set a controller for that. So how do we set a controller? We can use the use animation control, so provided by framer motion. So we can just go ahead and say const priv button animation controls. These allow you to like control the animation within your React code anywhere. So we can just do use animation controls, and now we can simply pass these controls to here. So like we can just say animate. Perfect. And now we can use these controls to animate at any time. So when do you want the back button to actually appear? It's actually when will the animation appear? It's when like the back button will appear, right? And when does the back button appear? After the step is not 0, right? So how do we do that? How do we keep checking the steps? The answer is we do use effect. So we can just go ahead and make sure that this is a client component, of course, because use effect does not work on server components. As a matter of fact, none of the hooks work in the server components. And we are going to have a few dependencies here. First of all, the current step, priv button animation controls, and yeah, I think we can also have, no, I think it's fine. We can just go ahead and we can just say if current step is equal to 1. So basically on second step we want it to appear. So we can just say priv button animation controls dot start animate. So it will start the animation state in the animation and it will start animating that. So if we go back, I'm pretty sure it should be working. Don't find any reason for it to not work. So if we go here and do continue, yeah, you can see the back button appears like this. It's not really that it's really subtle because the opacity is increasing also, right? So you do not see it coming in a very bold manner. You do not even see the borders. You barely see the borders of this div, but it comes and it does its work. Now this one does not animate by default. We need to also fix that. So yep, let's do that. We can just go ahead and this one is going to be pretty simple, right? We can simply go ahead and we can just make it motion dot button, and here we can have a new thing. We can have transition, and there are a few properties. So like we want it to bounce like a spring, right? So we can just do type spring. You can just see all of these things: inertia, spring, tween, and stuff. I just need the spring one. And stiffness, you can play around with different values. 500 works the best for me. Damping works 30, and the duration should be 0.3. Again, I encourage you to play with these numbers. It's very important for you to learn how these animations work. If you play with the numbers, you will actually know like what these numbers actually mean, and you can play around with those and find the perfect match for you. If you go ahead and refresh this page, you can go ahead and see it still doesn't work. And why does it not work? It does not work because by default framer motion components do not support animations on layout shifts. So how do we handle that? It's very easy. We simply say layout at the end. Perfect. And now we can simply go ahead and press the back button. It still does not seem to work. After refreshing it does work. You can go ahead and experiment with the numbers and try to make this animation even more perfect. So yeah, for now most of the things are done. We just need to go ahead and manage this green bar and stuff. So yeah, let's do that. Alright, so let's start with the variants for the progress bars. So we can just go ahead and do const progress bar variants, and and we can go ahead and this formula is not correct. What we can do is initial. For initial, what we want is we want the green bar to be on the first one and not on the we don't want it to not exist. We want it on the first one. So what we need to do is width to be we are using string letters because we are going to do some calculations. 100 by steps dot length %. And now this is going to like find the percentage for the first step, and that's going to basically have it on the first one. And then we are going to have an animate where so we are going to have a width here. This is going to be a little tricky. You might see me stumbling here. So first of all, we need to have step +1, because remember arrays start with 0. So current step +1 divided by steps dot length. Current step +1 divided by steps dot length into 100. Okay, so picture this. You are on the second step. So in an array you are on the first step, right? So if we can just say so current step +1 would be 2 in that case. And if there are 4 steps, so it would be 1 by 2 into 100. So it's going to be 50%. So the bar will be on 50%. That's how it's going to work. It's actually calculating the percentage on the basis of the steps covered. So yeah, and now we are just going to have the progress bar here. We are going to change this to motion.div. So let's do that here. Motion.div. Again, which one was it? Oh, I think it was just a self-closing one. I actually forgot. So now we are gonna need to give it a variant, and variant will be progress bar variants. The initial would be initial, because we want it on the first one by default. And then we need to actually create a controller for that. So I'm gonna copy this. I'm gonna say progress bar anim controls, and then we are gonna pass in the controls here. So I just gonna say animate and progress bar animation controls, and yeah, now we can just pass in the transition of spring, and it will, and I'm just gonna copy paste it. Yeah, now if we go back and refresh, it's taking a little time, not sure why. I'm just gonna wait for it. Yeah, if we go, it's still not working. Yeah, interesting, it's still not working. Yeah, it's because again we have the animation controls, but we aren't really controlling it anyway. Even I got confused this time. So again, we need an use effect and tell when we need to want the animation to get triggered. So we're going to use if use effect, and here we want the dependencies to be current step and progress bar animation controls and steps.length, because if dynamically any steps are added, this should be able to steps.length, this should be able to handle everything. So yeah, so here what we want to do is we are just going to say progress bar controls dot start animate, and now this should just work. Yeah, it works. Perfect. Yeah, it works. So yeah, I thought that there was one more step. Oh yeah, there is actually one more step. We need to make this continue button finish. So yeah, for that we are gonna need to use React icons. Like if you have a SVG logo, that would be much better, but I think I'm just gonna use React icons for this video. Bun install React icons, and now I can simply go ahead and pull in that icon which I want, which is this one. It's FA circle check. It took me a very long time to find this one, because apparently if you go ahead and search tick on the React icons website, you won't really find this one. You need to have this FA circle check. Now remember, with the flex we remove from here, we just need to have flex again here, because like, okay, let me just have this FA circle check component here, and let me show you how it appears. So if we go back here, we just do continue. Yeah, you see this looks ugly, and first of all we need to make some checks here. So the current step, yeah, basically this one, yeah, except the finish should be before. So what we are doing is we are checking if this is the last step, and the way we do it is step start length -1, because in an array the last step is going to be, of course, 1 less than ln, because an array starts with 0. It's a little confusing. You know the basics, right? We know the basics, but at times it becomes a little confusing. Why are we doing -1 here? Why are we doing +1 there? It becomes a little confusing. So I really encourage you to go ahead and try to think why some calculation is doing in a certain way, and what happens if we not do it that way. So yeah, I really encourage you to do that. So if we save this and go back, not next, we want this to be continue. Now you see this has become very ugly. We want the tick to be just beside finish. So how do we do that? Here we can simply give it flex. I guess we are just going to do justify center, item center, and I think this should just center everything. Yeah, perfect. And we also have this gap to here which works with flex, so this gives this little gap between the icon and the finish thing. So yeah, so our component is ready. So yeah, that's it for this video. If you like this video, make sure you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button to show me some support. And I know it's been a very long time since I uploaded a long form video on this channel, and that's because I have moved out. Now I currently live in Pune, and I have made this new setup, and it took me a little while, and now I'm back to recording videos, and I am really open to any ideas you have regarding content. So if you want some kind of content from me, make sure you leave that in the comments below. And now is the best time because I have a lot of time to create content on this channel. So yeah, if you want to see content like this, I don't like to say it 2 times, but yeah, just subscribe to my channel and yeah, you will get quality content. So yeah, that's it for this video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.